Welcome back, Slick Talkers. This episode is brought to you by our amazing friends at Send Squared. So if you want to learn more about the CRM that will change your life as a hospitality entrepreneur, then go to sendsquared.com and let them know that Wil sent you. Now we're back to the episode. Welcome back, Slick Talkers. This episode is a fun one because I get to sit down and have these amazing conversations with entrepreneurs all over the world. And Boris is my first guest who is based in Europe. And in this episode, we discuss what he's been building at Flataway and how Flataway envisions moving forward in the industry of independent and book direct movements. Boris scaled his property management company from 0 to 700, sold it, and now has been working on Flataway. And Flataway basically has reimagined how OTAs or other channels can create independence for the operator, save the guest money, and also maintain some income themselves, which is a whole fun strategy that we get to talk about later in this episode. Now, without further ado, welcome my guest, Boris Pavlov. You're listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, a podcast for those who are in and around the hospitality industry who love, live, and breathe what they do. You can join us for candid and unscripted conversations with hospitality experts and founders as we go deeper into their personal stories while they're sharing their triumphs and trials that got them to where they are today. I'm your host, Wil Slickers, and you're listening to an episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, let's begin. All right, Boris Pavlov, welcome to Slick Talk. This is a long time in the making as I'm such a fan after hearing you on Good Morning Hospitality. So welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Super excited to be here. Doing great. Another day finishing with pretty hard work starting at 5 o'clock in the morning. But that's how it is when you have a newborn in the house. But very excited to be on the show. I've been waiting all day for this.
Well, I was going to say, for listeners who aren't watching the video version, Boris has a brand new clean cut from the barber. So he got it just for the podcast, just for you. So if you're not watching the show, you should go watch the show to appreciate Boris's slick haircut. So Boris, I love that you mentioned having a 2-month-old because I think this is a perfect segue for us to, one, kind of hear a little bit more about your story, because from what I know, based on our discovery call together, you're a man of many businesses and ventures. You basically left your banking finance job, going into entrepreneurship, creating Flataway, on the board of a property management company that you sold, plus, the list goes on. You hosted your own scale rentals event in, remind me, where did you guys host this event? It was some part of Europe. There's so many of them now that I'm trying to keep track.
Yeah, it was in my hometown in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Bulgaria.
And it was, but the event was for all of Eastern Europe. It was the first of its kind for the whole region. It was a great success. So we're doing it again next year, and we're targeting like 1,000 property managers from all over the region joining. We'll have all these separate rooms with per country where they can discuss stuff that are particular to that market. So that's going to be very cool. I'm not a conference organizer at all. But I guess I've always liked trying new things. Ever since I was a kid, I used to do stuff like, breakdancing, skateboarding, windsurfing. Windsurfing actually stuck with me.
Okay.
Pretty
awesome.
good at that. And then kite surfing as well. So I guess I always like trying out new things. Some of them really kept me. They became hobbies of mine. Tennis is a very good example of that. I wanted to become a tennis pro when I was a kid, but parents said, no way you're doing that. You need to go and study. So I went the academic way, so to speak. First in Bulgaria, then I moved to France when I was 18. I was lucky enough to study abroad at an American university in France. And then I moved to the south of France for a master's. Then I started working in Paris for an investment bank. Spent a few years there. Then I nagged my boss. I was like, I want to go to New York. I really want to go to New York. And I took it to extremes. I was on trading floors. I had plenty of screens. I'm not going to get into what I was actually doing, but I had plenty of screens right? So 6 or 7. So I put wallpapers on every single screen with images from New York. That was like 2013, more than 20 years ago. And when my boss would arrive to work, he sat next to me on the trading floor. I would just minimize all windows with a shortcut on the keyboard and look at him and be like, that's what I want. So ultimately, he caved in. So they shipped me to the US as a French expat. I'm Bulgarian, by the way. I'm 100% Bulgarian, but somehow I was a French expat in the States, in New York, in my mid-20s, living the life, single finance guy in Manhattan at that time. That was a lot of fun. I have to be honest with everyone listening and watching. Then I moved to London. Didn't like it. I don't know why. Just not my city, I guess. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired and bored with this finance job. I wasn't on the trading floor anymore, so I couldn't shout and throw keyboards and, talk to people, in a very abrupt way, so to speak. So it was kind of calm, the position I had in London. And I was like, okay, quitting my job tomorrow, if possible. Not possible. I have to wait a little bit for that. But you know what happened? I had rented this apartment in London and I didn't read the terms and conditions or the rental agreement. And it had like a break clause in it. And I was supposed to keep paying rent for another 6 months. So I didn't know what to do. That's 2016. And I was like, okay, how am I going to handle this? I already resigned from work. I had 5 startup ideas. I wanted to move back home to Bulgaria because living in London off my savings, which weren't a lot. By the way, finance guys, not great at personal finance. That's a trait we have. So I was like, what do I do? And I found a property management company in the UK. And they were starting out. Now they're one of the big ones. But they were starting out at the time. They were like, look, Boris, go back home to Bulgaria, give us the keys. If the landlord agrees, we'll just sublet the apartment on vacation rental websites, take our commission, and you'll be able to pay rent. And I saw that and I was like, oh, this is super easy to do this business. You can start with no investment whatsoever. Just create some profiles on Airbnb. It was only Airbnb back then. And I can do this. I can just, make some money on the side, get some entrepreneur experience, but I had no idea how to even start a company when I moved back home. Mm-hmm. So that's how I started my property management company. And that's the beginning of the time when I started realizing it's not easy at all. Right? I mean,
the rude awakening that we all get.
Yeah. From the sidelines, I mean, wouldn't you agree from the sidelines? It seems so easy. Mm-hmm. Right? What do? You just organize cleaning, you install like a lockbox or a digital lock or something like that, and you chat with people online that enter the property. Easy peasy. Mm-hmm. No. I suppose most of the people listening and watching know that it's not the case.
All right, Slick Talkers, this is for my American listeners who are tired of having to remember trash day. Trash day is a pain in the butt. I hate trash day. I always forget, but that's why I signed up for Fido. So go to getfido.com/slick-talk, or just make it easy on yourself. Grab that link in the show notes and let them know that Wil sent you. If you are using a bin to curb valet service already, then they'll save you $50 per unit you switch over. But on top of that, you'll never have to ask your guests to take the bin to the curb ever again. Who would have thunk? Wild. Hospitality at its finest, where we are solving the simple problems that cause negative reviews. So without further ado, go to the link in the show notes, getfido.com/slick-talk to learn more and let the Fido guys know that Wil sent you from Slick Talk. Without further ado, we are back to the episode. Yeah, I was reading a book. I'm still reading this book called Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. And there's a part in this story where he's in Europe and he's, I think, staying in Rome for X amount of time. And he goes to this restaurant and there's an issue, but then they resolved it very quickly and very smoothly. And then he went to this other place, and it just all seemed like handled perfectly. And then he gets into the restaurant business, and he realizes all the mistakes that are really happening behind the scenes. And he asks the general managers, like, what? How come I don't see this as a guest? And he's like, oh, hospitality is nowhere from perfect, but we're just really good at hiding our imperfections so the guests don't have to see it. Because who wants to see it, right? Like, no one wants to see the messy chaos behind the scene of a startup or a property management company, but you just hide it. You make it look kind of like a facade, and just in a good way. Not saying like to hide stuff in your business, but you hide that behind the scenes, because the guests are there to be on vacation. They're there to do their thing. They don't need to know what is going on behind the scenes. So hiding their imperfections and making them recoverable was the key. And so it sounds like you figured that out. You're like, oh, it looks great. Can you rent my flat on this property management company? I should start one. That if they're just easily able to cover my rent. It looks great.
Same story, but there's a difference. Restaurant business, it's existed forever. I don't know how centuries. Vacation rental management, it's relatively new. I mean, okay, we can trace it back to the 60s, 1960s, when people were booking with postcards. I met someone from Spain who said that this was his family's business for generations. So it's not a new industry per se, but a lot of the process, a lot of the things we do today are relatively new. In the grand scheme of things, short-term rentals weren't popular at all before Airbnb. There was sort of, yes, of course, but Airbnb made it mainstream, and it was because of and thanks to Airbnb that we have so many property management companies out there. So the thing is, even when I started out in 2017, there wasn't that much information out there on how to structure the business. And even though it seemed easy from the sidelines, I wasn't happy as a customer in the beginning. When I was, the customer of the property management company, I was like, okay, these guys could do these things a lot better. But then when I became the property manager, I realized that I wasn't wrong as a customer. I demanded stuff that should have been done, but I didn't have the understanding of how difficult it is to structure processes, especially when your business, as it grows, these processes need to evolve and adapt, and you're constantly either overstaffed or understaffed. I don't remember a single time when I felt, okay, the business is now appropriately staffed. We have enough, just the right amount of people. And consider this, I scaled it from 0 to close to 700 properties. From one little tiny studio in Sofia to 700 properties across 14 different submarkets in Bulgaria and Romania, in 2 countries. So at every single step of the way, you encounter new challenges. And what's great about what you're doing, Wil, yourself with the show, and what a lot of people in the industry are doing, we're all giving our experience, giving our knowledge, giving our know-how, tools and everything to help others not make the same mistakes we did in the past. That didn't exist in 2017. I didn't go to any shows or any conferences, let alone in Eastern Europe. I mean, that's a new thing. Yeah. But I didn't know these existed back in the day. So I had to figure out stuff on my own. So in a sense, it's probably easier for startup vacation rental management company these days because there's so much knowledge out there. For sure. At the same time, so much competition, right? My company was technically one of the first in the country. Now, I don't know how many they are.
And also something you and I discussed in our pre-chat is that it's yes, maybe it's easier to get started or to have the resources available to kind of pick what model you want to go down. But with the technology landscape and data and AI now, it's actually getting somewhat harder and more costly to start a brand like this, taking care of guests, creating moments, curating, good returns for owners, etc. Right? Like it's there's a lot in it now, and to the point of like middlemen and OTAs getting bigger and taking bigger share of the pie. And it actually almost kind of grew too fast, I would say, maybe.
Yeah, because it's a big market, and when you have a large market like vacation rentals, I don't know how big it is. I mean, some people say it's 100 billion, others say it's 130 or 40 billion, but it's in the probably around 100 billion. Okay, whatever. So when you have this huge market and a relatively new industry, you attract a lot of players. Now the problem is, everyone is trying to solve the same problem with similar tools. And a lot of property managers, for example, they are like, even I was in that position back in the day. I was choosing my PMS when I found out that there was such a thing, property management system, because I had to find out back in the day. And then I picked one and I was like, okay, but I want this feature and that feature and this feature. And I considered building my own. Thankfully, I didn't, but I did build my own operating system, like something like Breezeway. Biggest mistake ever. Spent so much money. I could have easily used an alternative that already exists on the market. But because as a property manager, I felt like my processes were unique. My brand was unique. I wanted a unique solution that fits my preferences. So back in the day, a lot of people in my position started building out these property management systems that fit exactly their preferences, requirements, and processes. And then they realized, oh, I have this product here. I can just sell it to other property managers. And that's how we ended up with, I don't know, Will, do you have any idea how many property management systems are out there?
A lot. Andrew Kitchell and I worked on a kind of like a roadmap of, or a category chart of all the different technology sectors in our industry. And the property management sector was the biggest one in terms of the amount of companies inside of it. And then I think shortly following was, things like pricing tools and Breezeway softwares or communications. Digital guidebooks is a huge, or like ancillary revenue type situations. But yeah, it's extensive. It's an extensive list. And that's not even getting into the ones that are like hotel and a vacation rental focus. It's quite competitive.
It is, and that's becoming a problem today. Not a problem for the property managers that much, but a problem for all these companies. And truth be told, I'm a little bit worried what's going to happen because, I spent 14 hours and 30 minutes, exactly 14 hours and 30 minutes, with an AI. Disclaimer, I don't code. I code on VBA. If you've heard about VBA, it's Excel's coding language, and HTML back in the day, but I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer myself. So with very, very little knowledge, in 14 hours, I built an entire SaaS invoicing tool for property managers. 14 hours and 30 minutes. I clocked it because I wanted to see how much time it's going to take me. And then the property management company I saw, they signed up, they started using it as a user, and it's working and it's perfect and it's free. So, I mean, if we consider that this is happening, I think any property manager, when they find out that they can build stuff like that on their own, they will start doing it. But the only thing missing the missing piece of the puzzle is the integrations with the channels, right? So a couple of years ago, if you had asked me which is more in danger, the property management system or the channel manager, I would have said, oh, the channel managers, because all property management systems are building their own internal channel managers. Right now, I'm not so sure anymore because you can technically, if you have the integrations, the channels, you can build everything else with AI, and it's not very difficult. You don't need too much, how should I put it? Like too much technical expertise. You need a little, but give it 6 months to a year. It's a problem. So where do we go from here? That's the big question. With all these companies that you try to map out, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of consolidation because now it's going to be, there's no more tech mode. There's no more technological advantage. So it's going to be about who has the largest market share and who can maintain the largest market share and have little churn. But anyway, that's going into some projections that, I'm not so sure our property management partners at Flataway, property management systems, partners, PMS system partners are going to be happy about me saying that, but it's the truth. We got to open our eyes to what's happening. And any SaaS tool out there is just in danger today. So very exciting times.
All right, Slick Talkers, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Hostfully. If you are looking to grow and scale your property management company, whether you are in North America or Europe, it doesn't matter. Hostfully is the number one property management software that you can use to streamline your business, to connect to the best channels and to the other marketplace of other vendors where you need to have task management, dynamic pricing, all the fun things, right? Am I right? Am I right? Anyways, without further ado, Hostfully is taking care of our amazing Slick Talkers who use the code HFM300 for $300 off your onboarding. If you're curious to learn more about the Hostfully product, then go grab a link in the show notes, grab some time with our man Frank, and he will take great care of you. Let them know that Will sent you from Slick Talk, and we are back to the episode. Yeah, well, it opens up the door, so I want to give the listeners an opportunity to hear from you directly, but you've clearly outlined the amount of stuff you've done, right? So 0 to 700, that's no small feat in any means. I would say 0 to 100 is incredible. So 0 to 700 is like phenomenal. For building a property management company, selling it, you're on the board of a bunch of different associations. You hosted your own conference under the Scale brand. You've built your own AI tech-enabled invoicing tool. Well, not AI, but you built it through AI. And so now you add a 2-month-old to the house for you and your wife having this. So one question I have for you, how are you balancing the amount of stuff that you're doing on top of the personal life and becoming a father? And then two, when it comes, actually, I'm going to save that question for, let's talk. How are you balancing all of this? You're a man of many businesses and many ventures. So I'm very curious.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a successful example of balancing personal life and work. I'm not. It's something I'm very grateful to my wife for, because she sort of got used to me being me. I'll just give you a scoop of the day. I wake up at 5, a little bit before 5 a.m. I take the little one because my wife needs to get some sleep. She sort of takes the night shift if he wakes up or something like that. I take him, I feed him, I change him, and then I put him right here. I'm sitting on a chair, and literally I put him right here on the pillow, and I have my computer in front of me. So while he falls asleep and doing what he's doing, I'm answering emails in the morning. Then my wife takes him, then I go into the other room, start working, and I mean, the good thing is I get to spend a lot of time with my baby, because I'm working from home right now. We're doing a hybrid version, but no time for anything else. Haven't played tennis in a couple of months. Really miss it. No time to go out with friends, unfortunately, unless grandma is here to cover for us, so we can go out for a couple of hours. It's quite tough, but when you love what you're doing, when you see so much opportunity out there that you just want to seize, I keep getting ideas every single day about stuff we can do. And sometimes I just wish I had a team for every idea and just tell them, okay, that's the idea. That's the problem that this idea solves. This is the market. This is your ideal customer profile. Sell it that way. First of all, build the product this way, sell it that way, and go. So that's how I ended up thinking over the course of the years. And that's who I am. So I guess my wife accepted this fact. It has pros and cons. Yeah, she had to. It has pros and cons. I'm a technically stay-at-home dad. I'm at home most of the time, so I help out a lot with the baby. And a lot of people who have a regular job, 9 to 6, that have to go to the office, they don't get to do that. Or maybe they get to do that for a couple of weeks, but I get to do that every day. But I also, on a Saturday and Sunday, it's the same schedule. You know, I still get up at 5 in the morning. I still go on my computer right after I take care of the kids. So it's every day. It's every day. And it's been like that ever since I sold the property management company. You know, most people, they think, most entrepreneurs, they envision this day when they do their first exit. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's a successful exit. It was a successful exit in our case. And they're like, yeah, and I'm going to take so much time off. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to relax. I'm going to chill. I'm going to throw away my phone because I can buy a new one if I wanted to. I have money. Yeah, no, that's not what happened at all. Not at all. I just had Christmas holidays because we had already started iterating with Flataway, which is the dream. So the property management company, now in hindsight, it was more of a step. Maybe a step towards a dream, because means to an end has like a connotation where things have finished. And I've never been done with the vacation rentals industry. I just love it. I genuinely love it. Not because of rentals, money, because of the people. It's because of the people. I have never seen, I come from finance. Different people, obviously hospitality people, finance people, can't really compare the two, but yeah, so much fun at conferences. I love going to conferences. I don't care how much clients we're going to get from a conference. I just want to see friends, people that have become friends from the industry. I just want to talk to them, catch up with them, tell them about my kid, hear about their kids, who got a new house, who's moving where, all these things. I really enjoy the fact that we may be a large market from an investor's point of view, let's say, but the industry is small. Well, I mean, I don't know what your take on this is, but I see the same people at every conference everywhere in the world. And it's some amazing people. So yeah, it's like a one big happy family.
Yeah. No, I agree with that statement. It's also, I feel like there's a lot of people out there still that were like you in the beginning of 2014 or even getting closer to 2017. You're like, they just don't know there's these conferences and associations. They're hosting on Airbnb, or maybe they listen on Burvo or whatever. And then they just like think they're like, yeah, cool. Like they're the one in their friend group that's telling people about this. And they're like, what? You could do that? You could make money this way, and you're getting this and done, blah, blah, blah. They're the one that is like the unique situation. And then there's this whole industry behind them that is going to these events and conferences that discover it. I remember my first, I was a hotel manager and I found out about vacation rentals and Airbnb, and I got excited, and then kept doing it. And I found out there's actually industry focused conferences where I talk to people about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's nerds out there that aren't are just like me. And so it's a slow discovery phase. So I think there's a lot of people out there that still haven't discovered what's beyond their own property in terms of hosting, whether it's a hotel or even a vacation rental. So yeah, I feel like we're barely scratching the surface with new voices and attendees to be getting at these events.
Indeed, we are. And it's good that we have shows like this one to spread the word. One thing you said actually made me think, so in the beginning, 2014 to 2017, 2018, these sort of earlier days, not the early days, but the earlier days, I remember I had to explain to people what Airbnb was and then tell them what I did or what my company did. And I feel like over the course of the years, we didn't get enough appreciation from the large platforms, because growing to 700, but I never had an account manager at Airbnb. I never had anyone to call. And the number of horror stories that I can tell you, some of them are not appropriate for the show. Don't want to lose half of your audience. But I feel like we haven't been really appreciated. Maybe it's my experience. Maybe it's because Bulgaria and Romania, Eastern Europe markets are not great. ADRs are low here, so they don't make that much money from here. They didn't. But I feel like property managers deserve a lot more, because they're the ones who not just provide a service without which there won't be so many listings on the platforms. And I'm not just talking about Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, all the large platforms. So yeah, I feel like we could be more appreciated, not just treated as suppliers that are locked in there and they have nowhere else to go. I understand why it's very difficult to do, especially if you have a B2C brand. You don't want to encourage businesses. And also, it is true that a lot of the property management businesses are built on somebody else's land, the OTA's land. But there is a bit of a disconnect, and this a bit of a gap. And this gap has been widening with time up to the point where I think right now there will be a shift also in the dynamics. Property managers looking for direct bookings. Let's see how we do, how our industry does, as opposed to the hotel industry, which has tried to do that a number of times, but hasn't really succeeded. But yeah, I wish we did get a bit more appreciation as property managers. We do deserve more because we helped the mass adoption of the service of these platforms. We did explain what vacation rentals, what short-term rentals is, and then we explained obviously how we add value to the homeowner. Let's see. Very interesting years ahead, especially with the Book Direct movement and how it's growing. And now everyone who's jumping in. Right now, we're not that many. We're doing that. We're jumping in to help property managers, let's say, reduce their dependence on large platforms. But there's also other, I hope, other companies that are also going to jump in and help. So let's see where this takes us. Let's see if vacation rentals do better than hotels.
Yeah, the idea that property managers don't get a lot of kudos from the platforms is very true. If you look at the history of Airbnb, they went for individual hosts specifically because their thesis was the bigger the property manager or the bigger the host is in terms of inventory, the less likely they're able to curate a good experience and to have a good 5-star review to keep travelers coming back. In reality, individual hosts can't really scale without becoming a property manager. And so they're fighting for onesie twosies, one person here, one person there to get one house, maybe 3 houses, versus Boris with 700. It's a very different approach, but that again still is what kind of differentiated them in the beginning, right? To be host focused rather than whole home type situation. So the shared space. It's very interesting. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of queue up for you on this episode based on our pre-chat was actually wanted to ask you your opinion on Book Direct itself, because I think, Damien Sheridan and I have talked about this, and he and I met, right before COVID. And I think we saw how big these OTAs were getting. And then COVID accelerated it, I think, pretty significantly. And now we're in another kind of era and phase where they're getting even more and more control / bigger slice of the pie rather than making the pie bigger itself. So I want to know, what's your perspective on Book Direct? It's getting harder and harder to fight off. So it's like, where did we stand?
I love the energy that this movement has. Mm-hmm. It's great energy. Unfortunately, as it is today, it's not going to work. It just doesn't work because there is a fundamental problem. And it's not something that can easily be solved. That's what we're working on right now. It's the fact that property managers are local businesses. How many property managers do you have with more than 500 properties in different locations? Not that many. I would bet that it's less than 200 in the world, or 300. They're local. Even large ones, Guest Ready, House, these guys, and they have a couple of thousand properties, 5,000-6,000 properties, but they don't have properties everywhere. So the fundamental problem of Book Direct is that you cannot offer travelers what they really want. You cannot retain a customer because you don't have the supply everywhere. So a traveler doesn't necessarily want to go to a different website every time they're booking. When they have an AI agent doing that for them, yeah, sure, but AI agents doing bookings, that's a bit, that's going to be a bit complicated. I don't know how many people are going to use it. After all, part of the joy in traveling is picking the place where you're going to be. So anyway, what I mean to say is we have the following situation. We pay a bunch of money to the OTA to give it to get as a customer. Then we try and convert that customer by telling them, hey, next time book on my direct booking website. And that traveler, if they're happy with the experience, sure, they'll take a look at your website. But if you have 50 properties in one town that this traveler is not, going to every month, no, they're going to forget. When they come back in 2 years' time, they're going to forget because you just don't have the supply. You just don't have the value that they require to use you as a channel. So what's going to happen next, and it's not just us, I'm pretty sure others are working on it. I don't know who, but others are working on it for sure. So we are solving that problem by adding supply from a network into individual direct booking websites seamlessly, in hopes that this will give property managers the ability to retain customers. You can be the best property manager in the world. You can provide the best service, spotless apartment, amazing, true hospitality, and then you still cannot keep the guests because you cannot have that offering everywhere. And that's what it takes. That's why the customer, when they check out, they go back to the large platform. So once the supply issue is solved, and that's a multi-layer issue because it's not just like you can plug supply anywhere. You need integrations with all these property management systems. You need to unify the supply and then you plug it. So it's pretty technically complex. But once we solve that, once we enable property managers, I'll give you an example. You're a property manager in Marbella. You have 20 beautiful beachfront villas. Truth be told, I still haven't been to Marbella. I don't know if there are beachfront villas there, but I suppose they are. And I mean, yeah, they're amazing. You do an amazing job. You're in the high market segment, luxury, etc. You have this, even if it's beautiful, the website, and let's face it, 90% of property managers' websites are not beautiful. They're very, very bad WordPress websites that are broken. Even if it's beautiful, you still have 20 and they're only in Marbella. Imagine you can get 800 other beachfront luxury villas from all across the Mediterranean coast in the click of a button. And then you sell this. So you create your own mini niche platform and you give your travelers your website and you say, hey, for your next trip, there you go. You can book another villa at another place because luxury beachfront villa, you're not going to book the same one every time. You want to go to other places, maybe across Europe, maybe even outside of Europe, but you still want more supply. And then the traveler is going to be like, oh, okay, I don't want to sift through the large platform, booking.com, where you have not just luxury beachfront villas, you have all sorts of properties. I like this. I always book this kind of property. I'm going to go to this property manager's website and book there because they're professionally managed, they're curated, they're verified, and I get a better deal. That's the point. That's the inflection point when we start seeing a real advancement in Book Direct. Until we solve the supply issue, I don't see it happening. I mean, yes, returning guests, frequent travelers, sure, we can get that portion of the market, but how big is that? Not very big.
Yeah. So to like break it down maybe a little bit more simpler, is the issue that we're just so fragmented with all these brands and independent markets that a network effect and so to speak, and what you guys are building at Flataway is the broader option. It just doesn't have to be in the term of an OTA. It could be a network of a bunch of these, basically you guys gathering these fragmented groups, fragmented destinations and property management companies, putting them under one roof, letting them run independently, but giving the traveler that network effect of saying, hey, if you like Marbella, then you're going to love, Barcelona, and you're going to love this one, and you're going to love that one, and you're going to want to be able to open up that door. It's more of a co-op, right? Like a cooperation, right? Like, I don't know.
We go one step beyond that, and that's something we haven't launched yet, but okay, I wasn't planning on announcing it.
Let's do it.
Not an official announcement, but okay, I'll just spill the beans. We take it one step further. We don't want to tell the property manager's customer where to go next. It's the property manager who should do that because they know their customer best. They know their properties best. We don't want to be another OTA. We don't want to bring the customers to us. No, we want the customers to go to the property manager. We want the property manager to be able to retain them. So we just give the property manager the tools to do so, the website and the supply. Think of it as Shopify with one difference. Let's say on Shopify, you create a store on Shopify because you're selling teacups. Amazing, you're selling teacups. But you have all these customers that come and they buy teacups from you. The same customers, they probably will want wine glasses or plates and forks and knives and all sorts of cutlery, but you don't produce those things. You don't have those things. You cannot produce those things. So what do? You curate wine glasses, plates, and all that from other suppliers. You put them on your website, and when you have customers next time come to your website, they will see, oh, I can buy everything from my household from your website. I don't have to go to other suppliers or to Amazon. That's what we're trying to do. We're literally building the Shopify for vacation rentals with that added common supply of curated professionally managed vacation rentals that can be used by everyone. And it's the unique website for the property manager, not some made up, website builder thing that looks very, very bad and it's not mobile friendly. It's their brand, their colors. They will do whatever they want with that website in natural language. But that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say right now. We need to actually release the product first, and then I'll be able to share more. But I guess I already told you a lot. My CTO is going to kill me. He hates it when I say stuff like that before we release the feature product. It's an entire new product. But anyway, couldn't resist.
Well, yeah, no, it's interesting because I think the problem of Book Direct, it's really multiple. I think you said earlier, it's a multiple faceted problem, right? Like there's many layers to it. It's not just the OTAs are bad. You need to get your own direct website, right? Like that's the old message, just pre-COVID, right? Like get your independence, form a website, make it beautiful, become a better marketer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's like the early message. Today, it's, how do I say this without contradicting myself? I think it's more than just the OTAs. Like the OTAs aren't fully bad. Yes, there's a heavy dependence on them, but the traveler uses them for a reason. And there's a couple of reasons in the term of like the product is really easy to use. The book on there, it's simple, it's easy. I don't have to worry about, going through a bad website that isn't designed well with easy checkout experiences with a Stripe checkout or something that's easily verifiable in terms of payment. And there's a lot of different touch points that we can go into. But, there's also $16 billion behind those OTAs in terms of marketing dollars, which you can't compete with no matter how much marketing and SEO and ever you want to do. And then it's all, I think like what you said, it comes down to scale. The hotel, Marriott exists because they're everywhere. Recreation Rentals, which was my former company, only exists in 3 states, right? Like that's about all you got. And the value, like you said, is limited when you are smaller and growing, and it takes time to get to that point. So there's a lot of things against you. The network effect that you guys are putting together for Flataway, I was telling you before the recording, going onto the Flataway website, it kind of felt like Clubhouse back in COVID with the social media app where it's an invite only. You have to have iPhone. If you're not invited, you're not a member. It's very exclusive type feeling until they open it up to everybody. So I love the membership approach. I think it curates or it solves an issue for me that doesn't really go into direct booking, so to speak, is that you are getting the inventory that you want because anybody and everybody would just give you whatever inventory, and you get to be a little bit more exclusive with that, knowing that your travelers also are curated. It's not every and all travelers. So you have to find kind of that matchmaker ability. Is that how you guys see yourselves being in the term of like getting inventory and then reaching the demand?
That's how we saw ourselves, but we realized that if we tried to do that, we would not defeat, but we would endanger our prime purpose, which is enable property managers to actually have their own customer relationships. And yes, we have the Flataway.com website. It will remain most likely members only, because we don't want just anyone. We want to bring property managers not curated travelers, that sounds weird, but verified travelers that are invited by other property managers. Same rules apply. So they still make their referral fees, etc. But we're taking it a step further, and we are saying that we truly believe that each property manager knows very well who their traveler is, who their ideal traveler is, and we will just help them reach that traveler, retain that traveler, because we all know how direct booking actually works. It's not like we outbid on Google Ads or Meta or whatever. We don't outbid the OTAs. We get people by converting travelers that are coming from the large platforms and telling them, hey, next time book on my website. That's how we actually drive direct bookings. So yeah, we want to do everything possible to enable the property manager to retain the guest. And part of that is also making sure that the guest is the right guest for the property manager. So we are doing a little bit of matchmaking, but that's only the beginning. The vision is far bigger than that.
Can you break down I think the listeners are probably curious, because I don't think we've fully like hit what Flataway truly is, but you guys have an interesting commission model where you're not taking 15% and just saying, have fun with your traveler. Like, yeah, they're yours and your customer. But you guys actually split that 15% not pretty. You actually separate it very evenly. 5% to Flataway, 5% savings on the guest side, and then 5% to the property manager that basically got that traveler on the platform. So for any booking that they get for the rest of their entire Flataway time, life on Flataway. Yeah. So can you just break down like what I feel like that, again, try not to like contradict myself, but like I feel like that commission split approach is so simple, yet like I am surprised no one's thought about that before. Taking, okay, like instead of like no commissions or no fees, let's just basically disperse it differently, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm as surprised that you're. Nothing more to add to that, really. I don't know why nobody is doing that. I mean, okay, here's the thing. It requires a lot of resources in order to attract travelers. And we've seen that now in the early days with Flataway, and we believe that's why we're building all these websites for the property managers that are their own website, because they already have the demand there. They don't have to bring them over to Flataway. But if they do, yes, of course, the split applies. There are two things coming in play. You mentioned how much the large platforms spend on marketing. In terms of percentage of their revenue, and their revenue is commission, let's say it's 15%. In terms of percentage of their revenue for Expedia, I believe it's 50%. For Booking.com, it's about a third. So let's take Booking.com as an example. They spend a third, and a third, so we pay them 15%, 5% goes from there to Google and Meta. Their largest client of Google Ads. What we do is that third, we just give it to the property manager who brought the guests. We give it to them because it's their guest, whether they brought them on the Flataway platform or whether they brought them to their website and they booked someone else's property. Yeah, it's their customer. And when you have a customer, you from a purely business logic and perspective, you monetize that customer. You build that relationship, you provide them with a great service, with value, and that's how they repay you by rewarding you for your effort. And on the guest side, the 5%, it's just optimizing it. We're being a lot more efficient with less than 10 people in the team. and most are on the tech side. So we're just a lot more efficient using AI, and we can afford to do that because we also believe that the guest, the traveler, needs to get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's the rationale. Why hasn't nobody done it yet? I don't know. Maybe someone has. Maybe we just don't know about it. I'll be surprised if nobody has. Usually, with good ideas, it's not just you that came up with it. It's maybe 100 other people. And then again, the cliche saying, it's all about execution.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say, how many people had the idea but actually executed? We'll find out. out. I'm sure this episode will go live and someone will message me and say, well, I have that. I built this and we're doing it. And then I'm like, oh, great. We discovered somebody. So hopefully you're not alone. But if you are, you're the one that executed. So
hopefully we're not alone. We don't want to be alone. We want competitors. No. I'm not just saying that to try and be a nice guy. No. Mm-hmm. The more companies are trying to solve that problem, the more the problem itself will be spread across the community of property managers. You said it yourself, there's so many people that haven't even heard of their conference.
Yeah.
Let alone attend one. It's a huge market. There is space for 10 companies like ours to operate in. The more we are, the more the word around the problem and the severity of the problem and the magnitude of the problem will be shared with everyone, and it would get easier for each competitor in the vertical. I would rather have competitors with whom we educate the market and tell them that, okay, there is a solution out there, there's a better way to do things, rather than doing it on my own. I don't want to do it on my own. I don't want to educate the customer what we do and why we do it on my own. No, we need a bunch of companies doing that.
Well, can I ask you, so the recording before this one, I had Benjamin Gross with Minty Living. They're a property manager out here, over 200 properties in Georgia. He brought up some really good points, right? Like, obviously people say, like, and it goes to what you're saying in terms of educating the market. So to educate the market, to educate a traveler who looks at short-term rentals or vacation rentals as an Airbnb, which there is no such thing because Airbnb doesn't own any inventory except for their experience, not even their experiences. What was it called when they launched like 2 years ago? Their ultimate, like the up house and the type of like the ultra, whatever they were called. Forgive me for listeners who are listening and like, you're almost there. But basically there is no Airbnb. And then so educating the market that looks at the whole industry as Kleenex is looked at for all tissue, it's really hard to educate that, plus the dollars going behind it in terms of marketing and press and all these other things. And then on top of that, you and I are very passionate about the data silos that exist in the technology sector of our industry, which Ben also brought up in his recording. So we have two issues on education. One is for the traveler. They are not educated that we are not an Airbnb, that whole type of situation. Then you have the technology landscape that's not educated. There's no, that's not that they're not educated, but there's no data standard. There's no technology standard. There's no API standard. You have 12 different integrations just to figure out how to pull a beachfront property into one kind of bucket on your guys' end. So it just seems like there's a lot of education that needs to happen, and it is not. And this is like where I struggle, because as an entrepreneur, you're trying to solve the one problem, right? You're trying to solve the problem of dependence on OTAs. And on top of that, now you have to solve the education of that. And on top of that, you have to solve like the execution of that and how this gets applied and like there's a lot of issues to be solved in different layers. So it just, I don't know, like, is this a fight or a battle worth battling in some shape or form?
Yeah, hell yeah, of course. Yeah, it's totally worth it. I mean, I completely agree with you. It's horrendous, everything that we need to do in order to fix those things, in order to deliver the value we're trying to deliver to our customers. We need to do a bunch of things. And you're completely right. Like, yeah, the traveler doesn't know anything. And I'm assuming that's going to be a very, very tough hill to climb probably something will change in the behavior, but there will be like a direct booking plugin or AI agent or something that will spearhead that. But then data and technology in our industry, why did we allow for this to happen? I don't know. We build out all these integrations with property management systems, and then our team spend days on trying to reconcile, speaking of beachfront properties, in the amenities and the tags and all that, beachfront, seaside, the beach view, and all of these things that mean exactly the same thing, but they're different words in the different property management systems. That took days to just do that amenities part to make them homogeneous. So, I mean, there's so many things with the integrations, with data sharing, with how fragmented the entire industry has become because of what we talked about earlier, how people were just like, okay, I'm going to build this tool for myself. Oh, I'm going to start selling it. And then they do a good job and they grow and they have their own thing there. They have different, especially in Europe, we have all these different property management systems that are popular in certain regions of a certain country, not even the entire country, So it's horrible. We need to fix that. And it's people like us that need to fix. Nobody's going to come and fix it for us.
No.
Or if they do, they're going to charge us a lot of money to fix it. And we don't want that. Definitely don't want that. So we're going to fix it little by little. Hopefully soon there will be a connector in the space. Here's an idea for entrepreneurs out there who are extremely techy. Try to connect everything. Take Wil's mapping of the industry and try to connect everything like a Zapier. You're going to be making money. We're going to pay you. Flataway is happy to pay you. We don't want to be building integrations. That's not what we do. Not our job.
Yeah.
It's worth it. For me, it's worth it. It's always going to be worth it. I just love this space. For newcomers that have not experienced the pains and sufferings of property managers, I don't know how they would take it. For anyone who's not been a property manager, trying to build a tech product in the space, there's going to be a lot of questions. Why is this way? Why is it that way? Yeah. And maybe, these will impact their motivation on, to keep trying to fix these problems. But I mean, it's worth it. If it was easy, anyone would do it. We will have these problems. Any industry has problems. It's not just us. So I mean, I'm up for the challenge, and I'm sure there's many other people from the industry that are up for it as well.
Yeah, it's kind of brings me back to something we were talking about before we hit record, right? And I put a post out there on LinkedIn talking about the kind of pendulum has swung super far one way during COVID, which was cut everything at all costs. Let's get efficient. Let's AIify everything, take away humans, take away this, increase rates, increase profitability, do this, do that, which is fine. Right? Like business is business. You have to do what you have to do to survive. Post-COVID, people, again, are still trying to just add AI to everything, which AI has its role. I'm a big believer in AI. So I'm an advisor to an AI company. So I believe in AI. I believe in the role it has in our industry. But everyone, we kind of have, I've just seen this pattern that we have as an industry to kind of shift too far when we need to pivot and adjust, right? And the pivot that we're coming out of, I think now, is that pivot of over-efficient, over-cutting, over-techifying the industry and our operations to then now like human touch, more hospitality, more curation, more of this. But again, still remembering like we should use AI, like we should use technology, but it's not easy right now to do that because of these data silos, lack of integrations, or not lack of integrations, lack of standard integrations. There's tons of integrations happening, not cheaply. So it is kind of this like swing. Where do you think we are? And do you even relate to that post and that sentiment of like the pendulum kind of going in one direction or not? I'm curious where you see things in your guys' side of the business.
That's a great question. I completely relate to it. But I'm a dreamer kind of guy. So I'm thinking utopia here. I'm thinking all of the things that don't add value to the guest experience are just run automatically by AI agents somehow seamlessly in the background. And we as hospitality people, we get to go and meet the guests that are staying at the properties. We get to take them out for dinner, for lunch, because I used to do that in the early days and I miss it. I mean, I used to do it when I was operating maybe about 5, 6, 10 properties. And when someone was very curious to find out more about the country, or they were asking me where to go out, I would invite them if I'm out with my friends to a bar, they would join us. I really missed that. But once, I scaled the business, I could no longer do that. I didn't even know who was staying at the properties at some point. I didn't even know the properties. I didn't know which properties were operated by my company or not. I just see the company cars. We have electric vehicles. They're branded and all. I just see a car that I don't even know we have. Okay, that's our car. And when you reach that point, at some point you wonder, okay, I did not start out like that. I don't think I'm being a better host. I'm not being a better host at all, because I know that people I hired to do a certain job, they're not going to bring out the guests to drinks with them. So in that sense, what I hope will happen is we'll fix the data issues. We'll fix the connectivity issue. The fragmentation in connectivity is the biggest problem of all. Mm-hmm. We will fix that. We would reduce our dependence on OTAs. Everything that doesn't add value to the guest experience directly and will be done by robots, not humans, robots driven by AI. And we get to return back to the authentic. We also discussed the word authentic, that its usage is somewhat controversial recently, but true authentic hospitality experience, like the experience you get when you go to this very old restaurant on a small island in Greece or somewhere in Italy, in agriturismo, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and then you're greeted by the owners and they cook for you the most amazing dish in the world, and you have coffee with them. One of my best experiences was on a safari I did, and we camped out in the middle of the desert with the person who lives there, and all night they were telling stories, their stories, their personal stories, and that's where we need to get back to somehow. It's gonna be a long journey, but traveler preferences, they're also adapting, and that's what travelers will want ultimately, because if everything else is solved, you want the experience, right?
Yeah, and I think like the pains of booking and traveling and staying at a hotel or a vacation rental, as those get solved with tech and user adoption and many different areas from the traveler side and from the property manager side, it's going to be like, what's left, right? Like we solved these problems, and this could probably be like 10, 15, 20 years on the podcast. So, this is not anytime soon, but once we solve those problems, it's going to be like, okay, great. What do we have that's different, and the connection piece and the experience piece, and being able to, I want to get to the point, and this is the question I was asking my buddies recently, is like, how I want to see the point where we get to in the industry where we create an experience company that somehow at the end of the day does provide lodging. But that's like the afterthought, right? Like lodging and a place to sleep is not what people think of when they think of this brand, right? Like they think of highly personal. I'm going to walk into this room or this hotel or this restaurant or this event, and instead of a generic welcome gift, it's a personalized custom welcome gift. I love Dr. Pepper. Instead of having a Pepsi brought in or whatever, I actually have Dr. Pepper and Oreos. Yeah, Oreos are great, but I actually love those Nutter Butter cookies, like by the Girl Scout cookies or whatever. Right, like whatever the highly personalized version of what we do is done. Which I know personalization is also a very kind of like arbitrary word in some shape or form in this industry, but to the point where you're offering an experience that's so beyond the normal and expected that the lodging piece becomes like the afterthought. That's what I want. I want the industry to get to that point, but we'll see. So it's very much visionary like you, my friend. I'm very out in space a little bit.
I can see that there's another dreamer. So 2 dreamers on a podcast. That's how this should be the title of this show. But I totally get it. And one thing that I noticed recently, I was reading somewhere on LinkedIn, someone referred to experiences as like, in the context of vacation rentals and travel in general, they refer to experiences as like this upsell or third-party service or auxiliary service or something like that. And obviously people got mad, and I would totally get mad. You travel for the experience. You do not travel for the room you're staying in or the vacation rental you're staying in. Yes, of course, the vacation rental stay is an experience in itself, but you don't travel somewhere to stay at a vacation rental. You travel somewhere to, experience that place, whether it, just being in the city or meeting people there, or doing tours or museum visits or wine tasting or whatever you want to do. So I also don't believe that, I do believe experiences are underrated a lot in our industry, and we look at them as something that we can just make a little percentage from when we upsell it to our guests.
Yeah, it's transactional.
Maybe, it's very transactional, very impersonal. We just give them the digital guidebook, and we say, hey, there you go, some nice experiences, and then you get a percentage of that. That's not, I don't like that. No, it's very impersonal. And here's where AI can come in. The AI can ask the traveler before they arrive, what do you like doing? Tell me, why are you coming here? What do you want to do, etc. And then when they say, oh, I'm a foodie, I love wine, I'm going with my wife, we left the kids at the grandma's house, and then they would just suggest the perfect experiences like a wine tour or something, and build the whole trip around that. I don't know if someone is doing that. If they're not, here's another idea. Someone please start doing that. Maybe the AI chatbots are already suggesting stuff. But
I don't know. It's coming back to that LinkedIn post. I put the line in there: the ones who believe that hospitality is not a transaction to optimize, but a relationship to honor. And I think when I look at a transaction to be optimized, yes, an upsell, like a romance package or whatever, right? Like that's a transaction to optimize. But the relationship to honor piece is like, I want to get to know my guests. Like I want to get to know what that special thing is that I can do that it doesn't have to involve transaction. It's just, how can I connect with you deeper? And I look at hospitality as like a pursuit of relationship. And to be pursued, if you just break down the word pursue, it's intentional. It's something very deeply, meaningful. And relationship is a two-way street. It's a dialogue, not a monologue, right? Like me to tell you about my brand versus to have a conversation with you is very different. And so like being able to create that moment and that experience is the relationship we need to honor. I think like the transaction can be optimized as many ways as we want. AI is a great example. Hey, Boris, you and your wife are in on a weekend getaway without kids. Like we're so excited. If you want, I can, instead of going out when you guys arrive, we can have a bucket of chilled wine and, a nice charcuterie board and music playing when you enter. And that's our romance package. That's a transaction you can optimize all day. But it's a little bit personal. To get that dialogue going, it's like, how many years have you guys been together? How many weekends or how many times has it gotten to the point that you guys could have a getaway? And then get that dialogue moving so that way when it comes to delivery of that relationship and that moment and experience, it's so personal, it's so deep, it's such a, sorry, I'm getting excited, but it's like, it's something that's just beyond what is expected. And I think that's where we need to live in the unexpected, live in the unanticipated, because that's where the magic is made. I think that's where AI cannot take over, right? Like it can help you find those moments and curate the window of opportunity, but you still have to pull that trigger. You still have to be intentional with that. So sorry, I'm went on a little bit of a tangent, but it's, there's a lot of room.
You're right. When we're educating these AI chatbots, and let's face it, it's inevitable. Guest communication probably gonna be done by AI chatbots. Okay, that's fine. But when we're training these models, we need to train them as hospitality professionals. We need to train them to think how they can improve the experience and how they can make it so that the person really feels cared for, the person who's staying at the property. And then when this is solved and when all the operational issues are solved, I would still want to go and, meet with the guests. I can't meet all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
But have these truly personal moments, no AI, no stuff like that. So that I get a feedback from the person, and so that I can see how we can improve.
Yeah.
In the future. But yeah, we can go on about that. Very long time, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And to save the listeners, I think there's, again, from what you guys are building at Flataway, I think there's a huge window of opportunity. It comes down to a lot of these other problems, right? Like the problem you guys are trying to solve is just one layer of multiple others. And so I think, like you said, whether it's you, whether it's someone who's listening to this today, someone in the future, someone's going to fight this battle because it is worth fighting at the end of the day. I'm curious from your perspective, and to kind of wrap up the show, how long do you think is like, if you could create the ideal timeline, obviously tomorrow would be perfect, but tomorrow is not going to happen. So what is a realistic shift that we can expect in the industry? Do you think it's going to take multiple? I don't know. There's just a lot of questions that go into that, but yeah.
Something very significant happened recently. We broke Moore's law in terms of technological development. And this means that the way we develop, and that applies to everything, not just chips and technology and hardware. It means that right now we can grow exponentially much faster than before. And the rate at which we grow would be much higher than before. So I don't think we're looking at a timeline like, okay, 10 years down the line, direct bookings will account for 45% and we'll be super proud. No, we're talking a lot less than that. I do see that, let's say 3 to 5 years down the line, there's going to be a lot of disintermediation when it comes to personalization. So the two things are linked. Travel will get more personalized with the help of AI and with people moving back towards, okay, let's do what hospitality is really about. So travel will get more personalized, more authentic. That means less OTAs, less large chunks of supply where you have all sorts of options. No, it's going to be personal, and that personal party will connect with the property manager directly, direct booking. So I see that happening in the next 3 to 5 years, that part being personalized. When it comes to process improvement and guest experience improvement, and, getting closer to that utopia that we sort of discussed earlier on in the show, that's going to take more time. 5 years to 7 years, I think. And still, if you had asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have said, we're very far off. We're going to be making 1% increase in direct bookings every year for the next 50 years. But now, all bets are off the table. AI, and you've heard this a lot before, but AI is a new internet moment for us. It's not blockchain or a technology that has rather limited applications, and it's way too complex. We can interact with AI, we can use AI, anyone can today, and the rate at which it's developing is so fast that it will be a fundamental shift in technology, and AI will solve a lot of the technical problems that we have today. This connectivity issue with the bunch of different APIs, it can be solved by AI today. It's just nobody is doing it. Again, please someone do it. So that's it.
No, it's very interesting. Well, the famous last question I love to ask my guests on the show for listeners that want to connect with you deeper beyond the podcast. What place would you send them? Obviously, we're going to link everything in the show notes, but I always want to give people the opportunity to give a shout out for where people can connect.
LinkedIn, definitely LinkedIn. I stopped using Facebook and Instagram. Life changer, by the way. It completely changed my life. I earned hours. I feel like I earned hours in my life. Not that I was an active user before, but I just deleted the apps on my phone. And I noticed, the doom scrolling that we all do. Now I do it on LinkedIn. Yeah, but at least I learned stuff because I've curated my feed in a very good way. But Facebook and Instagram was no way. So LinkedIn, reach out to me. Happy to chat with anyone. Share dreams and see how we can execute them.
I love it. Yeah, let's get a round table, just a bunch of listeners and people in the industry, and just chat ideas and dreams and businesses to build, problems to solve. It'd be fun. Probably derail a couple of businesses already existing, but hey, it's whatever.
It's progress. That's how progress works.
Yes, 100%. Well, Boris, thank you so much for jumping on. I know, in my head, I'm thinking we went down a lot of different rabbit holes in a lot of good ways. So I think the listeners have a lot to dissect, but I'm just thankful for the opportunity to chat. For the people that haven't heard you on Good Morning Hospitality, should go to that episode. I'll link in the show notes with you joined Leo and Sarah on our European crew over there. And it was a phenomenal episode. It's actually how I met you or discovered you. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy Boris is so sick. So thank you so much for all you contribute to the industry. You do so much, from board members positions to scale to Flataway to so many things that you're just in the industry, so inundated. So thank you so much for all you're doing, and really excited for future conversations.
Thank you, Will. I'm really flattered and honored. Thanks so much for the invite. It's been truly a pleasure. And thank you for doing what you're doing, especially in the context of educating people within our industry. It's an extremely important mission that you have, and you're helping all of us in the industry. So keep at it, please.
No pressure. I'm just kidding.
No pressure.
No, but it's been it's been fun. It's been fun educating through conversation. So for all the slick talkers out there, make sure like and subscribe to all things Boris, Flataway, everything we've discussed. Give the same love that you show this show every single week. And like always, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our show partners for making Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, possible. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love to connect with you outside of the podcast. So you can follow us on all of our social media channels for daily hospitality content, or find us on slicktalkthepodcast.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Wil Slickers, and we will see you guys all again next week.